Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Of course, we are discussing all matters time Greyhound Nutrition Select Stakes. We'll also be talking about the Shelbourne Open 600, some exceptional racing in the undercard at Shelbourne Park. There's also one or two other little races we'll be mentioning, including a Maiden Derby success across the water for the Emerald Isle. Of course, there's also the valuable A2 Spring Derby down at Curraheen Park. That will certainly be brought up a little bit later on as well. As always, I'm joined by the exiled dub Tommy Lyons and the Cheshire Cat, Sarah Kinsella. The three amigos here this morning or this evening as you're watching, to talk about the great weekend of racing we have just seen. Sarah, you were down at Waterford on Saturday night for the Time Greyhound Nutrition Select Stakes. We were hoping for a good race. It was certainly competitive.
It was indeed, yeah. It was my first ever select stakes final, would you believe? And it was a great turnout. The restaurant was packed, the stand was packed, so everyone was happy. It was a brilliant night and a brilliant race. It had a bit of everything. From where I was standing, myself and Derek Freho were near the sort of last bend watching it, and we had thought that Ballymacfin was coming with a huge run, and we thought, my God, he's going to get up. But it was an exciting race to say the least. Jack Tavern Bolt was very unlucky. He looked like he had gotten the lead and got clipped a little bit between the first and second bend. So it had everything. Delighted for Droopy's Fidget and Robert Gleeson, who's in absolutely flying form. So yeah, terrific night, a great turnout. €1,000 for every race as well, Ian. Outside of the select stakes, of course, which was 10,000 to the winner. So fair play to all the sponsors on the night, and of course the big one himself, Willie Rigney for Time Greyhound Nutrition. Very lucky to have him.
Yeah, great contest, Tommy. Once again, it's a theme we keep touching on. One for the ladies, Droopy's Fidget, a very fast lady. She put herself in a position to win it. She took a flyer. She wasn't quite holding Jack Tavern Bolt into the corner, but she did enough just to upset him, and that left her in the perfect position off the second bend. Yes, Ballymacfin came with that big charge, as Sarah alluded to, but you just suspected that Droopy's Fidget was going to kick again. We've seen that from her, only recently finishing third in the Easter Cup. She's clearly a very talented lady.
Yeah, and 1-2 for the bitches as well. Lucky Julie running maybe
Stormer.
not very well named. Very unlucky Julie is what she
Yeah.
seems to be. Um yeah, it was kind of a funny race in one way. Like, I've watched it 1,000 times. I swear I must have watched it 40 times before I wrote my report about it, because I couldn't figure out what happened the first bend. Like, Droopy's Fidget didn't move off. Jack Tavern Bolt didn't seem to move in. I was wondering, was it a little bit of a tangle between Jack Tavern Bolt and Droopy Zelda, or was it between Jack Tavern Bolt and Droopy Fidget? I still can't figure out what exactly happened.
For what it's worth, I thought the initial contact was between the inside pair, Fidget and Bolt. But again, it was only rubbing. It wasn't like a bad clip or anything like that. It was just enough to halt him or to urge him to just move off a slight bit, and that then pushed him into Zelda. It's very hard to tell. Obviously, the camera angle isn't sensational either. It's quite a low camera angle in Waterford,
Low,
so you
yeah.
don't get the overhead look. Like if this was in Shelbourne Park, you'd have had a great view of it. But even then,
Yeah.
it still might be difficult enough to assess.
Yeah, I just can't figure out, because like thankfully it wasn't serious trouble. There wasn't anything major about it. It just seemed to have a much greater effect than you expected. Now the only thing is, Droopy Fidget, we know, is able to run the bend really well, and Droopy Fidget kind of took that important length coming out of the second bend. She was back in front. It turned into a great race, because like Ballymacfin seemed to come from nowhere to challenge and actually put his head in front between the last two bends, around the last two bends, just momentarily. And Lucky Julie then, like we talked about seeding and how she runs wide off the last bend, but she's as tight to the rail as you can get. Coming down the third and fourth bends, she's nearly going inside and then forced to check it off really wide, forced to check, or doing it of her own volition. I don't know. It's at this stage, it's nearly her style of racing.
Treasure Jr.
Like,
was there pitching down the back straight as well.
yeah,
He had missed the kick, but yet found himself in a position on the outside, Sarah. Like, even, he's running from trap one and he's challenging on the outside. And as Tommy said, a lucky Julie's racing from trap six, and she finds herself on the inside making her move around the bottom two bends, but then forced to switch out.
Yeah, look, they probably weren't in the best positions that they could have been in, but they ran their best. They did what they could do. And it was a bit like yourselves, like it's very hard to see what happened with Bolt. From where I was standing, just looked like he was just clipped from behind, is what I thought happened to him. But look, I think Fidget was going to win anyway, no matter what, because she had the perfect line, she has the pace, she has the determination, and she was in control for the entire race. A lucky Julie ran absolutely terrific. But like Finn, you have to say to him, like, he's danced every dance, hasn't he? He's been there. I would have loved to have seen him win it. The fact that he has gotten to so many big finals in his career and everything like that, and we've seen some wonderful memories from him. But yeah, look, it just had everything. It was just brilliant as gas, because when we were on the presentation area, Rob Gleeson was watching Shelbourne up on the screen in the restaurant, watching Droopy's Metaphor winning. So a brilliant night for his kennel.
We'll get to Metaphor in a while. Very impressive at Shelbourne Park. Yeah, Ballymacfin, Tommy. I'm sure this isn't his last dance. If he's running as well as this, Liam will continue to race him. You'd imagine something like the Race of Champions down at Tralee would be made from. He knows his way backwards around the place. Again, it's only a 2-run competition. It'd be ideal for a Ballymacfin sort of type greyhound.
I think you're right. I think you're right at this stage. At this stage of his career, 2-run competition is better than a 5-run competition. I actually thought the way the draw was with the 3 inside runners having a bit of early dash and the potential for a little bit of bumping, that he might actually inherit a nice position out of the bend, which he did, and he held every chance. I think it's just a case of getting beaten. One, I would say, Waterford isn't necessarily a track for Ballymacfin, and also he's been around a while. It's a bit like, in fairness to Trinity Junior. There's another dog who's been, just for the last 2 years, like, it says so much about the constitution of the dog that he can turn up in all these finals or late in big competitions over the course of a couple of years. He might not always have got his what he deserved out of the competitions he was in, because he was a star in the early rounds of a lot of the competitions as well. Like,
a finalist when you go back to 2022, like 2022, it was a finalist in the Ledger and the Juvenile Derby in late 2022, and held his form through last year, winning the Champion Stakes, and it was great to see him winning a big competition like that, and then to still be performing at this level. And it's only for a missed start, because if he had made the start, he could have been actually just the perfect position.
And this is the type of greyhound the Select Stakes should be for. A real proper start. He has a Champion Stakes, which is a great competition to win, but it's a short competition and whatever, and it kind of, it loses a tiny bit by coming straight before the Derby and that sort of stuff. It's still a great competition and it's very valuable, and I was glad he won it, because he definitely deserved it. But that's the type of competition that the Select Stakes should be for, and they should be competing in finals. He has been terrific, and it's down to training, it's down to the dog itself just to be in a final. It's like Ballymacfin. It's just to hold his form and be there, and to be able to be in front between the last 2 bends of a Select Stakes final at this stage of his career. I mean, they're fabulous greyhounds just to watch. I mean, I didn't know what to make of the race when I looked at it first. And I watched it, as I said, I watched it about 40 times just to figure out what exactly had happened. But it's 1 in 28:41, right? It's not a flying time, but it's still we take for granted how fast 28:41 around Waterford is. It's a really good run. But there wasn't a greyhound in that race at one point of the race you couldn't have said, I think he can win it. Droopy Zelda broke really well. Johnny got her out of traps really well, and she had a chance at the bend, just happened to be on the outside. Jack Tavern both led into the bend. Droopy's Fidget, in fairness to Robert, he got her straight out of the traps, and that she needed all of that. If she had missed half a length, she's nicely behind Jack Tavern Bolt. He gets no trouble at the bend.
If she's 6 inches further back into the corner, Jack Tavern Bolt,
he gets around.
Yeah,
he gets around. Lucky Julie comes there showing tremendous pace and has every chance. Trinity Junior, as you said, if he broke at all because he showed pace to get into the race, every single one of them. It's a great race. It's a really difficult race to kind of to sum up. It's just a really good race with every one of the 6 in a serious competition holding a chance in at one point of the race. So, I mean, sometimes we want to say, yeah, wouldn't it be lovely if it was won in 27:90? Sometimes these races are better. Really competitive racing.
We want competitive racing. It's all well and good every now and again seeing one go out and dominate and win in superb style, as you said, in a very fast time. But competitive racing is what we're all in it for. Sarah, again, it's an ongoing theme. We've said all tracks should have a night, an occasion, and this was Waterford's occasion, and they were treated to an absolute belter.
Yeah, they really were. And that's saying I never had gone before for the Select Stakes, so I was really impressed with the setup, and the team down there do a tremendous job. And even, Niall in the restaurant as well, he had a load of confirmations and all sorts in. The place was absolutely packed. I mean, the people up in the restaurant probably didn't know the significance of this final. It's some of them. I was speaking to a lovely woman called Susie. It was her first time at the Dogs. She had heard from her friends to go, and she wanted to have her family party there. And I was explaining to her, like, this is the Select Stakes. It's a big final. There's 10,000 to the winner. And she couldn't believe that much money goes to a greyhound, she was like, wow, I might get a greyhound. You know what I mean? So it's lovely. Like, and I have to say as well, the track was in super condition. We were taking pictures and videos of the queues coming in the door. It just had everything. I was really surprised as well. Like €1,000 race, that's sensational. And for a graded card, I think there was even A4s on the card, and they were getting £1,000. Met some brilliant people like Michael Mead, Fiona Goff, George Roach, just some characters in the game. They're all getting their big night. And of course, Robert Gleeson getting the biggest one of all. And I interviewed Willie afterwards, and Sean Dunphy. That was my first time meeting Sean Dunphy, would you believe, as well. So we interviewed him for the web package afterwards, and sure, look, they were all thrilled because the owners couldn't make it, obviously. So there was a great representation there on the night. For all the finalists as well, I was speaking to the Pillar Syndicate, of course, as well inside. They were very, very hopeful. And I was surprised to see the price that Trinity Junior was, because everyone I spoke to in Kilcohan Park were predicting Trinity Junior. And I put up the box I put up on Instagram where you put in guess who wins, and at least 15 to 20 people answered Trinity Junior. So I was surprised to see him the price that he was. I thought he would have been a lot shorter. But there you go. There you have it. It was the favourite one on the night.
He ended up being the off-course layers favourite on the afternoon. He was 7-4 generally. Droopy's Fidget, the price of her was somewhat surprising to me, but obviously they backed her to win the Easter Cup. Maybe the owners sent over cash and backed her on the night as well. I'm not sure. Jack Tavern Bolt, the 2-1 second favourite in the market. He was a little bit unlucky, Tommy. There's no question. Jack Tavern Bolt, whether they go Dingdon with him, I'm not sure. I'd say they'll probably stick to an Irish campaign. Again, he's a real Laurels type greyhound. Curraheen Park really is his track, and that's the one you'd be keeping an eye out for.
Definitely. Like, sure, he ran so well last year. He showed terrific early pace. I mean, if you look at his sectionals, and again, I'm always loath to kind of be absolutely set on sectionals because I think they can be difficult enough to gauge. But if you look at the three runs in water, 3:26, 3:19, 3:13 in the final, they could do no more. Do no more with the dog. Get him out of traps like that. Get him there in that good a form that he can break that well and do that sort of section. It's just a bit unlucky. I don't know what exactly happened, and it wasn't serious trouble, but it was just enough to upset it. And Droopy's Fidget, I say she won the Steel City Cup last year, was it?
Yeah, she was. Yeah,
last year. Yeah. The Steel City Puppy Derby, or whatever it was. She won that last year. Like, she's obviously extremely talented, and she's only been racing. She's only been racing in Ireland since February.
Yeah. Yeah, she's already been third in the Easter Cup. And you were talking about sectionals there. She does 3:18, 3:15, and 3:15. In a way, Jack Tavern Bolt probably lost his final in the drop draw. If she's doing 3:15 on his outside, it doesn't matter. With 3:15 up his inside, that's enough, because 3:13, I would imagine, in 99% of races around Waterford, we'll see you go around in front. And just on this one occasion, he met a razor sharp Droopy's Fidget. No, a tremendous winner, and she is now Sporting Press Irish Oaks bound. I would assume that is what Robert suggested, Sarah.
I didn't get to talk to Robert because he was going back into with the dog. So I spoke to Sean and I asked Sean, and he just said, I assume that's what they're going for, but he didn't confirm it. He couldn't, obviously, he's only the breeder. But it's actually worth noting that breeding line, they repeated it and they pupped Droopy's Natalia just the other night, I believe. So that's a repeat mating. So we can definitely look forward to some more Droopy's Fidgets in the future, please God.
Droopy's always, Droopy's Clue, of course, Greyhound of the Year in the UK. He's an absolute sensationalist there. And he'll be amongst the favourites for English Derby Glory, even though it's probably a touch short for him. But yeah, I think they were always going to breed Droopy Natalia again. She's daughter of Tully Murray, Groupie Doll. Groupie Doll going back to Mickey Flynn's breeding. Obviously, I would imagine that Willie was a bit, glad with that. He has a bit of that pedigree as well. Enable would be the same family as Groupie Doll. So yeah, good result for Time Greyhound Nutrition as well. No, a tremendous winner, Droopy's Fidget. We probably didn't give enough time to Lucky Julie in second spot. Jerry Melia once again produces a bitch to perform at the very highest level on the night that mattered. She has some exceptional form. She's lightly raced, 28:19 around Newbridge. Nothing does that these days. Although the track was going well for a couple of weeks there. She's 28:22 at Shelbourne Park, albeit in defeat behind Delro Duke. She's only beaten 3 lengths on that occasion. She ran a huge race in defeat. Her problem is just a yard early. But there's no question she has a huge engine, and she will certainly, you'd imagine, rock up to the Irish Oaks as well. And yeah, given a little bit of luck, she could certainly go a lot, a long way in that competition. I can't imagine she'd be 25-1 in any night of the Irish Oaks, Tommy, after this.
Yeah.
No, but she I don't know what she wants in terms of the track.
Mm.
I really don't. In terms of where she wants to be and what she wants to do, she likes a little bit of freedom.
Yeah, I think they had a middle seat on her. I'd say if she was mine and going in for the Irish Oaks, I think I'd leave an inside on her with a view that she'd hopefully get a cleaner run around the opening corner, because I think she's on the outside of the really razor sharp ones. I don't know what had happened.
Yeah, but you're opening a can of worms there if she's going to run like that.
Mm.
If you're the owner of another dog, like, and she's running off, and uh, it's a tricky one. Like, she started off in the middle seat as they all do. She had it for 3 runs. She went to an inside seat, and then after the first run here in Waterford, when she ran straight off the bend, the last bend, they changed the seat into middle. Whether that was management or it was connections, I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't know. She's a tricky one to figure out because she doesn't win that many races.
The
She
night
hasn't
in
had that
Newbridge,
many
the night in
races.
Newbridge, she did the big run. She raced from trap 2. She steps out to 2.5. She stays that line the whole way around.
Yeah, it's
So
but
she's sort of
what
she's
she
in between. She's in between basically. If you see her inside, you'd be hoping she wouldn't get one. You'd be hoping for 2 or 3 every night. Is the way
yeah,
the way it works.
yeah.
Yeah,
Fair
no,
enough.
great,
Yeah.
a great select stakes. Well done to all involved. Sarah mentioned the great Georgie Roach, who had a treble on the undercard. Great to see Georgie. He puts a lot into the game. He's an absolute lover of the sport, and the work he has done at Enniscorthy as one of the volunteers there has been tremendous over the years. He continues to be an absolute passionate greyhound man. Great to see him having a treble on the night. And as Sarah said, €1,000 race. That's 3 grand in his pocket, leaving leaving Waterford, and no doubt going to be spent, perhaps some of it anyway, at Enniscorthy this evening. You would assume rarely misses a night down in the sunny southeast, does Georgie. That's Waterford for another year. Droopy's Fidget, a tremendous winner. We look forward to seeing her in action. I think Robert did confirm to the Racing Post that she would be heading to the Sporting Press Irish Oaks. And if she is, well, we look forward to it because she is a very, very talented lady. Now, moving on to Shelbourne Park, ladies and gentlemen, we have a race in our hands next week, the final of the Shelbourne Open 600. It just all of a sudden became a bit more open than sort of the betting would have suggested. For the early rounds, Ryhope Beach was 11-8 favourite ahead of the opening round and ahead of the second round of semi-finals. He's now a 15-8 chance to win the final. And Sing Along Dolly has unshipped him with Boyle Sports. She's 7-4 favourite. She produced a stunning run at Shelbourne on Saturday night, 32.02. Sarah, I'm sure you're sad you missed it, but you were down, as you say, in the sunny southeast.
Yeah, I can't complain too much because I had a great night in Waterford, but I was sad to see Dolly win and I missed it because she ran a huge race, but so did Buddy Fashion Model. I was nearly more impressed with Fashion Model, to be honest with you, than Sing Along Dolly. I thought it was a great race. But she was like in control, wasn't she? She was pulling away, won by 3 lengths. You can't be disappointed with Gizmo. I actually tipped him up to win it. I went against Dolly. I know, shock horror, but you can't take much away from him because he's still likely raced and he's going to learn from that and come on from that. So I think that was even a great performance as well. And he's in his first big final of his career. And Ballinabola Jim, I suppose you could say you're a little bit disappointed with him being in the position that he was in. He sort of faded back. But Dolly she's just so versatile, isn't she? Like, she can run any track, she can go from any trap. Mullingar, Thurles, Shelbourne, she's just brilliant. I just love her. Great to see her produce that performance. I actually missed the draw. What trap did she get in the final?
She's in trap 1. She's in
Woohoo!
trap 1. She's where she wants to be. Yeah, Sing Along Dolly, Tommy, 32.02 is an absolutely stunning run. I remember Late Show doing 32.20 and thinking this track record will last for years and years to come. And, when you think now that 32.02 has been done and, track record 31.91, Law Hill Duke, like, it's just a magnificent run. And she didn't even lead into the opening corner. Ballinabola Jim led. She slips up the inside. The key with Ballymacgizmo was he was going to have to clear Sing Along Dolly, and that was always going to be tricky. That was always going to be tricky. And there are quite a few of these dogs who I would say are pretty similar to each other in terms of early speed into the opening corner. And if Sing Along Dolly was to break or start, it was always going to be very tricky for Ballymacgizmo to get around her. And that's how it proved. Fashion Model ran a remarkable first and second bend, sort of found herself in a nice position into the back straight. She charged into the third bend. As you'd expect, she's finishing like a train. She's immensely fast. Ballymacgizmo, I thought, it ran a remarkable race to actually grab third from Balnabola Jim, who, yeah, Sarah, I know you said you were a little bit disappointed, but he does 32-34. Like, I think that's probably his career best run. It was just that he's after running into a couple. Like, he had to submit to Sing Along Dolly into the back straight. And then all of a sudden you have Fashion Model, who there are very few will be able to contain. And Ballymacgizmo had to run an absolutely belter to get up on the line to chin him for third spot. It was just a cracking race all around, Tommy, but Sing Along Dolly, 32.02. Can't take it away from her. It's a stunning run.
Oh, like she's she's well on top. If you ask me, like Fashion Model is about the same distance behind at the third bend as she is at the line.
Yeah.
With the winner, the winner is just staying every yard of it really really well. If you want to find a chink in her armor, it's the fact that she's not blessed with tremendous early pace. Like she's fine. Like now, Ballymacgizmo would have let her had if you swap the traps. It's just the way it would have been. There was a little bit of a bump between them. Singing on Dolly probably came out slightly. Maybe Ballymacgizmo in very slightly. Not a lot. A little bit of a bump, but enough to kind of shift Ballymacgizmo back. He ran a cracking race. Balnabola Jim showed lovely early pace, but they're proper greyhounds. The proper greyhounds, and yet again, Ian, and this is just at the risk of repeating myself for about the millionth time. Bitches 1 and 2 again. The strength of them and the power of them. They're brilliant.
Bananas. Yeah, it's not the last
brilliant.
bunch we'll talk about it in the final. Yeah, Sing Along Dolly. I always say, it's great to have one that knows how to win. It's also very good to have a lucky owner. Gilbert Anderson owns Sing Along Dolly. He owns Sing Along Sally. And when they bought her, I'm sure they were hoping for a little bit of success with her, Sarah. Puppy Oaks, Champion Bitch Stake, Cesarowitch, favorite in the final of a Shelbourne Open 600. Like, you can dream, but like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's pretty lucky, all right. I met him in the Cesarowitch final. He's a lovely man. And to have the ladies as well performing so well for him, you could never be disappointed with this lady. She gives it everything. So he's super proud to own her. Like, I would love something like her in my kennel. My God, it'd be exciting going out every day, knowing what you have. And just as well, I feel bad now for saying I'm disappointed with Balnabola Jim, but it's just because he has 30.97 around Shelbourne Park for the 5-7 bite. That's the only reason before anyone gives out to me. But yeah, Dolly is a terrific little lady. She's 64 pound, I think, isn't she? She's not that little, I suppose, but a huge performance. And she probably will win the final based on the fact that she has trap 1. So I'll definitely be sticking with her for the final.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm making any bold predictions in this final. I think it's a cracker. We'll get to it in a few minutes. Fashion Model in second spot. She is so immensely strong and fast. And as you say, Tommy, she probably didn't make up an awful lot of ground from the third bend home, but she had to come between dogs and she had to work her way into it. She's so fast. Ballymacgizmo back in third. Going out were Balnabola Jim, Droopy's Tico, and Droopy's Comrade. Didn't happen for the two Droopy's dogs. They both balked at the opening corner, and it was a struggle thereafter, especially when you consider what was happening out front. The second heat was a far more straightforward affair. Sarah, Eugene Price, Rosemary Price, Colin Rosbottom, they have a nice one in form of Penny's Links. I've long said it. I said it to Eugene the back end of last year. I said, Eugene, I think you can pursue all the glory you want over 550 yards, but I think this fellow, if he's going to win something, it'll be over the 600-yard trip. And Penny's Links got loose, showed terrific early speed, 587, razor sharp, got loose on the bunny, doing 32.18, big 84-pound dog, a half-brother to Susie Sapphire, amongst others. Just a brilliant performance. And yes, he's 16 spots slower than the opening heat winner, but you got to say, every bit as impressive.
Yeah, he was. He came out through the bars, didn't he? As you mentioned, 587 was a stunning sectional. Ran terrific, but Ryhope Beach as well, like the position that he was in, he looked real lethargic for the first part of the race, didn't he? Almost like, nah, he's gone out the door, like give him the keys to lock up, he's not finished. And then all of a sudden he just takes off. And you've seen him, I've seen him during heats of the Derby where he's out and gone. So it's like he's running a different style of racing now. It's like this style is better for him, that he's missing the kick and he's just turning the engine on and he was coming with such a surge, but just Penny's Links ran an absolute huge race. I think he's unbeaten now going into the final, isn't he? He's won his opening 2 heats. So yeah, a terrific performance, 32-18 as well. Not much between him and Dolly really on paper. But as you say, it is hard to predict now the final. It's a sensational lineup. Guy Knight Kate as well ran a big race to get up for third. I was sad to see Hanover Phantom not getting through. I love that dog. But yeah, a really, really solid performance by Penny's Links. And I think it was a good price as well for anyone that was punting. It was around 4 or 5 to 1.
It was 4 to 1. It was returned 4 to 1, which seemed very generous in the end. Well, it certainly seemed generous after 5 yards, Tommy. Penny's Links got loose. It was all very straightforward. There was no dog going to catch him. He's very strong. He's a real all-rounder. You always allude to a Mal Brandy. Well, that's how I would equate Penny's Links. I'm not sure Mal Brandy ever broke like Penny's Links did the other evening. If he keeps breaking like that, he'll be a big player in the final. I know he has a little bit of time to find, but it's only a little bit of time. If you're doing 32-18 out front, it's going to take some dog to beat you. Ryhope Beach, a little bit back to his old ways. Tommy sort of just didn't mind himself. He found himself in an awkward little position in the opening corner. He's just taking that step for himself again. And yes, at no point sort of once he got around that opening corner that I feel he wouldn't qualify. It was just a case of whether he could get close enough. He's only beaten 2.5 lengths, again showing how exceptionally fast he is. Like the dog in front is doing 32-18, and Ryhope Beach is lengths and lengths behind him. He's only beaten 2.5. Thoroughly sensationally fast greyhound, but again frustrating.
He's crazy fast at what he is. He's what he can do. It all like Sarah said, like maybe look a little lethargic. I think that's his style. It looks so easy. I call it easy because it looks like he's not even making an effort. It just looks so smooth that the pace he has is ridiculous. Even I don't know. I watched the race a good few times, and every time I watched it, I was thinking he surely can't get to within 2.5 lengths. He surely can't. Something has to be happening. Something's going wrong here if he's getting to within 2.5 lengths. At any stage, I stopped the race, going, no. And like he's going to run wide anyway down the back, but he's kind of forced wide when you're behind greyhounds. The winner's an important runner in the final as well, for many reasons. Obviously, because he's in great form and he has a chance to possibly lead, although I think it's going to be tricky enough. But he's just in great form. He's breaking better than ever. You said it, Ian, about the trip. That's what he wants. I suppose having the sight of sometimes the sight of the long run up as well helps dogs break as well. They can nearly, you're not that close to the bend and you're not thinking about the bend straight away. There's a nice bit of room to maneuver early. Penny's Links clearly appreciates it. He's a funny dog though, in one sense. He's an inside seed, and I'm not suggesting for a second he's a middle seed or a wide seed or anything apart from an inside seed, but that dog will never touch the rails. Because if you watch him, when he comes out, he'll go a little bit right more than anything. He'll come in again at the bend, but he'll never quite get that tight to the bend. He'll leave a gap for a dog up the inside of the bend. He'll go very wide down the back. He'll come in again as any dog would to turn the bend, but he won't get to the rails and come middle to wide again in the straight. He's actually... Him and 2 is a huge help to Sing Along Dolly in the final.
Yeah, unless he gets that length on her. And then, as you say, he doesn't get to the rail, but he might just do enough just to upset her on the opening corner if she's length in front of her.
Oh, look at on the clock, seeing 32:02 and 32:18. There's only a couple of lengths between them, and you can easily get held up that couple of lengths. But she can track well enough, cleverly enough. And Sarah said it a few minutes ago, Sing Along Dolly is brilliant from any trap. She can operate from anywhere. She's really clever, really good tracker. And that's important because Penny's Links is going to leave a lot of gaps, and you have to have immense pace to be beating a dog that's going to be doing probably a similar time next week, a 32:18 type run. You have to be doing serious things. But I just think the opportunities are going to be there for Sing Along Dolly, and she has to be favoured. And probably has to be clearer favourite than Ryhope Beach. She has to be further clear of Ryhope Beach. And the reason being, again, the likes of Penny's Links, who's an inside seed, and not including Kyle Kate and Fashion Model and Ballymacgisbo in the race as well. She's going to be, if she's in front, she's going to be taking a very wide course down the back, forcing Ryhope Beach out onto the hay rail to make any ground. So, to my mind, I think the favourite actually Sing Along Dolly is quite a decent price.
I would assume the layers are taking in past trends. Ryhope Beach is a dog that has always attracted huge support. And I would suggest there probably is liabilities there. If you look, he was guaranteed to get trap 6 in the final, really, if doing things right before the semis on. I'd imagine even though he was 11-8, people took a chance thinking if this dog gets loose, he'd be 4-7 in the final. Here we are now. He's the opposite way around. He's closer to 2-1 than he is sort of two on. And yeah, I tend to agree with you. My first instinct was when I saw it, like Sarah, that first instinct, sing along Dolly's in one, she'll win. But then how often have we seen a final where bang, you miss it slightly? And, I know Penny's Links, as you said, Tommy, he went to 4 the other night. Now, from 2, he might only go to 3. Do you know what I mean? It mightn't be that's the part of the track where he wants to be. He might just be a dog that takes that step right. Maybe like myself, he has one leg slightly longer than the other. Anyway, if Penny's Links gets on the bunny, he is 10 spots faster to the third bend the other evening than Sing Along Dolly, which means she's a length faster from the third bend home. I would suggest she'll need to be in front by the third bend if she's going to beat him, because she's still going to have to get by him up that run in. And in a final, if the track's going well, and all signs will suggest the track is getting better week on week in terms of, it seems to be more closer to summer going now after a couple of decent weeks than it has been in quite some time. I think it's going to be a leader's race. Now, obviously, whoever's in front, Tommy, we're all throwing an eye back for Ryhope Beach. If he finds a way to lead Kyanite Kate into the opening corner, he should then be in front of Fashion Model. All of a sudden, he could potentially be a lot closer into the back straight than he was in his last 2 starts. And then all of a sudden, it's a different race. So it's all well and good. Like, would you sooner lay Fashion, or would you sooner lay Sing Along Dolly at 6-4, or would you sooner lay Ryhope Beach at 7-4, 2-1?
You'd lay Ryhope Beach. I think Sing Along Dolly.
I think I'd lay both, to be honest.
Well, possibly, yeah. I think Sing Along Dolly can pick up Penny Links close home. I think he can pick.
It'll be between the 2 lines.
I think it'll be that tight that she will have to pick him up in the home straight. I really do, because Penny's Links is a fair dog.
Yeah, let's look at the final. Okay, let's look at the final. Sing Along Dolly's in 1, Penny's Links is in 2, Ballymac Gizmo 3, Fashion Model in 4, 5 is Kyanite Kate, and 6 Ryhope Beach. Sarah, you've said it. Sing Along Dolly from the draw. You think she's going to take a bit of stopping. Tommy's after making a case that Penny's Links will edge off. She'll get that room to race in the early yards. When you look at it, Ballymac Gizmo doesn't have a good draw as a result of where Penny's Links is. And if he does take that step right, like Ballymac Gizmo is going to have to break like he's never broken before. Or else he's going to have to break just in behind Penny's Links and then try and pick his way around the opening corner. Fashion Model, 601 and 604 in the last 2 rounds. That's not going to cut in this contest. Kyanite Kate, she's 33-1. And she's a talented lady, but she's 33-1 for a reason. And then we have the enigmatic and thoroughly frustrating, but hugely brilliant Ryhope Beach on the outside. Look, listen, if I was to make a case for 3 dogs in the race, it'd be 1, 2, and 6. I'm struggling to make a case for Gizmo, Fashion Model, and Kyanite Kate, but that's not to say they can't win. Give me your thoughts.
Who's first? Me?
You, Sarah.
Yeah, you've just basically said it all there already. I think Penny's Links will move off a little bit. Dolly will get that lovely run around the first bend. The experience will come into play in terms of Ryhope Beach and Fashion Model. They've been around this track. They know it. They can run around it in their sleep at this stage. Ballymac Gizmo is not as experienced as some of these. We all know that these dogs can win these big finals with very little on their card. But I just think when a final like this and the trip and the distance, experience is key. So I just think Sing Along Dolly gets around the inside, she scoops around, she hits the front, and Ryhope Beach will hit the lids a little bit better than he has been doing, because we all know he can do it. Before this competition started, I think he won a 600 and I think he led all the way, to be honest. I don't think he had to dig deep. Then you have to take into consideration the fact that he's having to work so hard in his last races. Will that tell on him? It's hard to know. That based on that fact, I'm just going with Dolly, and I'm so strong on the fact that because she's versatile, she's consistent, she's got the pace, she's got the trap, and the rest of them there's a question mark beside them for me. She just stands out for me, and I do think the 7-4, 15-8. I think that'll be a much bigger gap between the 2 of them on the night. I think if anything, Dolly will go shorter. That's just my opinion. Maybe after listening to this, she'll go shorter, but that's my case. Obviously, I can get it very wrong, but that's just how I read it.
Tommy?
I'm good at getting it wrong too. Um, I think I could make a case for Ballymacgizmo. You have a dog that's had 5 runs or so. Can improve now. The draw is really terrible for him because of the early pace of Penny's Links. Seeing on Dolly's not a big early pacer, but she can break better than she did the other night. I just wouldn't entirely rule out Ballymacgizmo. Fashion Model has a tricky draw. Kyle Kate needs to step up. But I hope Beach has all the talent in the world. So if he won it, I'm not falling down. I mean, of course he can win it. Um, but Sing Along Dolly, I think it's an important thing when you can win finals, when you can proven to win finals. That is huge because we know down there's so many factors involved in any greyhound in any race. But as you get closer to a final, and you're hoping that a trainer ideally wants to kind of ramp things up and get better through the rounds and be at their best in the final. And so many times by that stage, the trainer's either made a mistake or the dog is just can't hasn't the constitution to take it. And by the time you get to final, they're a bit burnt out, or they just are just a little bit below their best. They're slightly off it. Um, with Sing Along Dolly, have a look, just have a look at her history. You were talking about what she'd won, but even just think about just Mullingar alone. It's only a 2-run stake, right? This year. So she comes out and she did a really wins half the track in what 33.06 and 7.18, and then comes to the final and there's a 7.07 and 32.74, which is a track record. I mean, she's proven she can step up again. I think she can step up again in what she did the other night. But I still do think it's not impossible that she leads, right? It's not impossible, but I think, I think the fact that Penny's Links is a good breaker, and will probably there's possibility that the Penny's Links, if stepping right, will have a little bit of a bump at Ballymacgizmo. That's possible. If that happens, Single on Dolly breaks as well or slightly better than she did the other night, then she can slip around the front and good night Irene. It's all over. There's nothing coming from behind. Not even Roy Hope Beach, because he needs to absolute ping break. He really does, like you said, Ian. He really does need to lead Kyle Kate very early, and Fashion Model needs to lead both of them early and actually have his sights set on winning the race from an early stage, from the second bend, rather than having to think, how am I going to get by all of these all the way down the back, because the dogs aren't going to be doing 32.50. They're going to be doing the low 32s, that sort of thing. It might be one in 32.20 because of the nature of finals. But I think like Sarah, single on Dolly is at 7-4. I think it's perfectly fine, and I think it'll shorten up.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I'll be tipping up Sing Along Dolly. She has a great draw. You've both made the case. I sort of made the case myself. Her best runs have often come in finals. You look at Thurles. She does 28.72 in the final of Thurles and Champion Bitch Stake off of 179. She does that 32.02 run last week. It's going to be hard to beat that, but if she repeats it, she's going to be very hard to beat. That the track record breaking run of Mullingar, yeah, that was sensational. I assume she did a lot of her schooling at Mullingar, just from where she was bought out of. That breed. I see she had a qualifying trial in Mullingar, so I'm not surprised that she, greatly improved for a return look to Mullingar in the final. Didn't happen for her in the final at Galway, but she, again, she made another final there. Like she's rock solid in terms of her form. She holds her form very well. If you look through her card, it's just littered with fantastic performances. She's just been a joy for them. And I get the impression from Pat Buckley that this is one of those bitches where I think he got to know her pretty early. I think he just knows how to work her. One of them, like Sing Along Sally, you could just get her every night. You just knew that she'd perform for him. And this is the case, again, with Sing Along Dolly and Gilbert Anderson. I think he could be set for another big night. Penny's Links could well set the pace. He's going to need a flying start like he did the other evening. If he doesn't take a flying start, there's every chance that Sing Along Dolly will be up his inside into that opening corner. And then all of a sudden, maybe Ballymacgizmo can find a better start, and then he can play a part. You're always looking back to Right Hope Beach, but again, I believe whatever will lead into the back straight will be very hard to beat. If Penny's Links led a length into the back straight with Sing Along Dolly sitting on his tail, then we've a race. Then we really do have a race in our hands. And I can see it, Tommy, where Sing Along Dolly maybe stays tight to the fence off the last bend with Penny's Links easing wide, and one of those gradual ones, not a flying finish now. Nothing seems to fly up the home straight, with the exception of Roy Hope Beach, but it could be a gradual one where all of a sudden leads inside the last 25 yards, wins a neck. So we'll go with Sing Along Dolly, but I tend to agree, which I think it's a cracking final. There's some brilliant performances on the undercard at Shelbourne Park. I just want to touch on, like from start to finish, it was just a great card. Kilcohan Mick ran a remarkable race in the opener, and Kilcohan Bell won the second race. A great double for Needles Colin, Karen Gagan. Karen had some very sad news in recent times. She lost her daughter. We send out our heartfelt condolences. Obviously, this is not consolation or anything like it, but it maybe just get her mind off things. And Karen's an absolute trooper in terms of Irish Greyhound racing. She's there with the retired Greyhounds, with Brendan Paul, often, not just at Shelbourne Park. She does one or two of the other tracks as well, I believe. She's a great lady, and we do send our heartfelt condolences to her. There was a tremendous performance by Get Up Me Son, winning a sprint. He was a maiden. He's a maiden no more, and I think they'll stick to two bends. I really like the way he ran. 1868, it was a hell of a run. Mairead's Prince ran a remarkable opening corner to get loose on the inside. The first race we'll talk about, though, is Ballinakillalf. This was sprinting at its best. Ballinakillalf and Hope's Hurricane, nip and tuck, the big two in the market. I would assume they'll be the big two, or two of the big three or four, shall we say, going to the likes of Dundalk. Two exceptional sprinters. Ballinakillalf holding off Hope's Hurricane by a head, but it was nip and tuck from the first bend to the line. Just a great race there. Were you talking to the Pillar Syndicate about this fellow?
No, I wasn't, and I haven't seen the race either. So I'm looking forward to watching it, because going from what you're saying, it was exciting. I tipped up Hope's Hurricane actually, seeing as he had bet them down in Limerick with Cree Joe in it as well, and Zakuni Vulcan as well for Niall Foley. Obviously, nearly got to the super sprint final down in Cork, so he's probably doing a career best there, 1878. So yeah, I'll have a look at it later. But Ballinakillalf, he's been a great servant for them, hasn't he?
There was plenty of chat about Ballinakillalf the night of the awards. The Pillar Syndicate were in flying form, and they were looking for match races with Ballinakillalf. And I kept warning people, don't go in a match race, don't get in a match race for Ballinakillalf. As it was, this turned into a bit of a match race. Tommy, by now I'm sure you've watched it. Big run, great racing though.
Terrific racing. The Coney Vulcan made it probably interesting because it flew out and actually led into the bend. But trap one, it seems to be in most sprint tracks that trap one is quite a difficult trap to operate out of. But Ballinakillalf, he didn't fly out, but he had to use the line really well. And Hope's Hurricane showed great pace to get around the Coney Vulcan and into a challenging position, swung wide into the straight as you'd expect. And it's always exaggerated sprints, they're going so fast. That was a cracking contest. Fair play to Ballinakillalf. The Pillar Syndicate, they always have prolific greyhounds, don't they? Prolific winners.
Do you know what they do? They buy a lot of very well-bred youngsters, and they give them all a chance. They school them all, and if they're not good enough, they sell them on, and they keep the best. But by selling on the other ones, they're still getting good prices. These are dogs that are capable of doing 28.40, 28.50, 28.60, and quite a number of the dogs they've sold are really performing at the highest level in the UK, but it's just not what they need in Ireland. And they've only kept the best, and they keep reinvesting. And I suppose that's the model that a lot of owners should be looking at. Rather than holding on to dogs for sentiment, sell them on, because other people will get great use out of them, give them a lovely life and a great home and whatnot, and they'll win plenty of good races. But they only want the very best, and they certainly have two of the very best in Jack Devon-Bolt and Ballinakillalf brothers, of course. And they were only telling me the other night that they're after buying, I think, two more from repeat mating. So they're hoping for more success. But Ballinakillalf, what a star he's been and continues to be. But Hope's Hurricane, the signs are there that he's going to be a serious sprinter this year. His massive run down at Limerick, and to be beaten only ahead against one of the very best, Ballinakillalf. I don't think it's the last time we'll see the two of them clash this year, Tommy, somehow. Moving on to the 750-yard contest, Kinturk Road. Tommy, you've always said it. She doesn't always win by a long margin, but she knows where the line is. But she had to, because Colossal Venture ran a colossal race in second spot. It was only a half length at the line, but Kinturk Road, after a couple of, has to be said, disappointing runs around Kilkenny, this was more like it. 41.65 off the bunny, or on the bunny. You'd imagine it's all full steam ahead for the Cork Cullen and perhaps defence of her title, but looks like she mightn't have things all her own way, Tommy.
No, and she's entitled to probably improve again, and she's excellent around Shelbourne Park. Yeah, I always say she doesn't like to do it to do it the easy way anyway. She doesn't like to kind of win by 5 or 6. It's very seldom the distance. But you know what? In fairness to her, the runner-up was on her tail and pushing her hard from down the back. Like they were a long way from home before. So she dug in deep. It's only half a length, but she's tough. I'd say she's a bit of a character. She's tough.
She's tough as teak. Sarah, obviously, Kinturk Road is a lady that you saw plenty of last year. I'm sure amongst your favourites.
You're gonna hate me for this, but I'm not really a big 750 fan.
Oh, right, no, stop there.
Cut her off there.
Stop
Cut her
there.
off.
Cut her off. Cut her off. Could
Yeah.
someone please edit that out? Shame on you. I want more 750s and I want more marathon racing, ultra marathon racing. Let's move on. No. Sorry, Sarah. Sorry. Is there a mute button? Is there a mute button? Now, the two semi-finals of the Retired Greyhound Trust Open 525 were also on the card. This is worth decent money to the winner, and two tremendous heat winners, Dealish Nora. Another lady coming over from the UK, similar type profile to Droopy's Fidget. She went very close to Puppy Oaks at Toaster, I believe. She looks a really, really talented type for Ginger McGee. 28.31, professional as you like. And then the second heat went to Droopy's Metaphor, 28.31. He absolutely took off to the third bend, 15.86. Not as strong as his brother Carracino, it has to be said. A very different type greyhound, but a real early pace display. Two fine performances, Sarah. I know you were talking to Robert, delighted with Droopy's Metaphor, I'm sure. He always described him as fast as Carracino, but with more early speed. That is coming to fruition.
Yeah, he ran brilliant. Again, we were just watching it we were in the middle of on the podium in Waterford, so we were looking up on the small screen far away, but it looked to have been an easy enough victory for him. He ran terrific because he's been kind of out of luck in his recent starts, hasn't he? He hasn't won since March. He's been balked and sort of hasn't had much luck he was down in Limerick, obviously. But yeah, a solid performance, 28.31. I think that'll give him a nice little bit of a confidence boost now to get back to winning ways. So we'll see now. He'll probably win that final. It's a nice little final. It's a nice pot as well, I think.
He's very lightly raced, but he is out in trap 6. But having seen him from trap 5 time the other evening, I'm not sure that's where he wants to be honest. I think, he is an inside seed. I wouldn't be too worried about the wide draw for him.
You wouldn't?
I wouldn't, no. I just like the way he's starting. Yes, he's probably edging in, but given his early speed, he's just 15.86 the third bend. When I say it, like, I'm talking about now in terms of this race, there's not a massive amount of early speed, and with the exception of obviously Dealish Nora went up very fast, and Abbeyside Spice missed the kick somewhat the other evening, but can really fly to a corner. But I thought if Droopy's Metaphor produced a similar start the next night, I don't think 6 will be a problem to him.
Yeah, kind of actually took a step right out of trap 5 the other night, and then went in, but didn't dive in and didn't go in on top of greyhounds. I always think that's important to watch how they deal with greyhounds on the inside. Okay, he was showing too much early pace for them, but that was a lovely performance. I don't know. I wouldn't. It would definitely, kind of temper my enthusiasm for having a bet on them now. Being 6, it's still a more difficult box than 5.
You have to go 5
if you're not a wide
back.
seed. If you're not a middle or wide seed, well, I like a bit of value in.
Dealish Nora, I'm sure she'll be Oaks bound. Sarah, Ginger McGee likes to have one in the Oaks. He's had Oaks finalists in recent years. She's a nice type. She's obviously very well bred. Droopy Sydney out of Ballymacgorn. I remember Ballymacgorn running her early starts. I think she had a 28.30 around Shelbourne Park in her first or second race. No, it wasn't her first or second race. It was her fourth race. She was a 28.42. She had a 28.49. She obviously ran in the unraced stake down at Newbridge. She ran in the Kirby. Like she was highly tried in a very short career. Her career finished she raced for 3 months. She had 7 or 8 races and entered the breeding paddocks. She's a sister to Vulturi Ballymacbell. She'd be a sister to what was his name? Oh, the two good dogs. Leave it with me a second. She's obviously very talented. She's definitely one to keep an eye on the Oaks. Obviously, she'll have another run this week, but she's now starting to find her feet that she's in Ireland.
Yeah, I was just going to allude to that fact that she hasn't obviously had much experience. So she's been around twice now, and already has won a 208, 28.31, winning by 6.5 lengths. So you can say that she's definitely taken to the track, and you can be very positive about the fact that she'll improve as the weeks go by with the more running that she gets. So yeah, definitely one to be excited for the Oaks. Will they have Hawkfield Abbey as well for the Oaks, or what's she gonna go
they
for?
probably will do. They've had her in Toaster a couple of times. Whether they go for the English Derby with her, I'm not sure. But you'd imagine she'll go for the Oaks. But I would suggest that Dealish Nora will be their main hope. Ballymac, excuse me, Dealish Nora, Ballymac Orn of the Dam is a sister to Ballymac Merlin, of course, an old favourite of mine who won the Ledger at Limerick, and a dog who was known as Ballymac Belvolt. Remember him, Tommy, in the Juvenile Classic, a very fast greyhound. He's now plying his trade in the UK over 6 bends, a Long Acres dog now. Let's move on. We spoke about the Shelbourne Open 600. Poet Storm was a tremendous winner for Lawrence Jones and Ray Byrne of the Open 525. Made full use of the inside draw to win in 28.39. That's another lady that will be Oaks bound, as will the runner-up, I'd assume, Lincoln Legacy. She looked unbelievably quick in the early start of her career. She was picked up by Fashion Model on 2 or 3 occasions in an unraced competition at Shelbourne Park. She has unbelievable speed to the third bend. Looked like she strengthened up a little bit. She ran okay when she didn't lead the other evening. She's only beaten 2 lengths in 28.39. She is definitely one that could go under the radar going into an Oaks. I would assume she'll have another race or 2 before then. Keep an eye on her. And then I want to finish up with Cormac King, who was, again, a brilliant winner of the finale at Shelbourne Park over 550 on Saturday night. This was a dog who came a little bit under my radar, and all of a sudden 2, 3, 4 big runs at Shelbourne Park. 29.58. This was just so professional, Tommy. I think he's turned into a proper greyhound. If the Derby was starting tomorrow, I don't think he'd be any bigger than 25.33 to 1.
Yeah, it was a smashing performance, and he's I didn't know much about him and he has been in Shelbourne a while and that, but I didn't know much much about him really. But his last few runs the other night, everything about it was right. Sectionals weren't bowl me over type of sections, but when you're doing a 348 and you're still doing 29.58, it's showing serious progression, and he's not stopping. He's staying well. He swung a little wide. He's a middle seat, swung a little wide into the home straight. No big deal there. He's only in March 22 as well.
Yeah, he's
type of dog to be the right age come Derby time.
Yeah.
He's obviously been well thought of. Like he started off in an race down at Tralee, then came to Shelbourne Park. But what you notice is his form has just gradually improved. He did a 28.28 around, or 28.38 around Clonmel, beating Ballinabullah Jim back in January. And that was after a couple of wins, a 29.86 victory for 550 at Shelbourne, a 28.68 at Clonmel. But even then, he never really sort of entered consciousness. A couple more defeats, went to the curb. He got knocked out in the second round behind Ballymac Danica the night she took off. But since coming to Shelbourne Park, it's just been so progressive. 29.78 for 550. That was Easter Cup final night. The final of the Easter Cup was won in 29.77 that night. He's doing 29.78. He does 28.50 then the next night. Hugely impressive. Runs past Droopy's Metaphor. We saw how Droopy's Metaphor did the other evening. And then the other night, 29.58, as professional as you like, sent off at even money. It seems like the cat is out of the bag. Like, you're even money to win the last race in Shelbourne Park on a Saturday night. They've caught hold of you. Sarah, good to see Owen with another very good one. Timmy Carmody, they can look forward to plenty of fun with this dog.
I was just thinking that to myself. Actually, it's great to see Owen now with another good one. Not to say that he doesn't always have good ones, but this lad you can get excited about him. Like, I actually think he was the only winner I tipped at Shelbourne the other night. I had a heap of seconds. I was
Sarah, we don't talk about the ones you dipped.
I'm reminded on a daily basis anyway. The bad thing about social media is everyone messages you when you have a bad night tipping, but you don't hear from them when you have a great night tipping. I'm sure you get the same. So I was delighted to see this fella winning.
No, after years and years of telling people away from me, they don't give me any hassle anymore. Yeah, no, but Cormac King,
brilliant.
A brilliant winner. Yeah, very much a talented tracker, one to keep forward, keep looking at going forward. Tommy, the Spring Derby was at Curraheen the other night. All very similar clocks, 28.76 for Katsumoto. I love to commentate in that Katsumoto. Kusi Hall 28.65, Labana King 28.97, and then the last heat moved too soon 28.68. Am I right in saying moved too soon? Showed some good form in the early rounds of the Laurels last year. I think he's a talented greyhound. Strange to see him in an A2 competition. I think that might have been a well judged preparation, shall we say?
Yeah, I think I was actually talking to somebody who was giving out about the fact that back graders can get into these competitions, but it's worth a lot of money in fairness. And I think you're entitled to try get it to be as strong a race as possible. Yeah, you can be frustrated if you have a young dog coming through or coming up the ranks, but like, yeah, move too soon has been there and done most of it at this stage.
I love it. Get him back to A2. That's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, there's some fast dogs in it. Wouldn't be surprised if one or two of these were, well, let's just say I wouldn't be surprised if one or two of these never saw A2 company again. Never mind in the near future again. But that's the way the Spring Derby goes. As you said, a really tremendous prize, €7,500, Sarah. Not too bad if you've an A2 dog, perhaps with a little bit more potential.
Yeah, it's terrific prize money. There's no doubt in that. But look, you're going to have people that they don't agree with some of the rules. That's just the joys of racing. Like, you have to take your chance in these things. And when you're speaking about luck, like you're probably going to touch on it anyway, but that open novice stake that Keith Powell had first and second in, I was speaking to him before the race and he was like, Ash, I look like, the hot favourite. You need a lot of luck. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah, there was carnage in the race. But that's what happens, and he's won $4,000 and his owner's first and second, Litter Brothers. His daughter was there. I got gorgeous pictures of the two of them. That's what it's all about, and it's all about luck. It is really all about luck.
The race that Sarah's alluding to there was Southfield King beating Southfield Duke in the final of the Resets Open on race stake at Shelbourne Park on Friday night. We should have mentioned it. Well done, Sarah. Obviously, Sid Zafiro, a son of Susie Sapphire, is the red hot favourite. Missed the kick somewhat. Found himself a bit of in a pocket at the opening corner, checked off, caused traffic. And all of a sudden, the two Southfield dogs left first and second. Now, they did look the two main dangers to the favourite, in fairness to them. And Southfield King did everything right. He popped out, got himself in a lovely position to take advantage. He was in front, and that's where you want to be. He slipped around, winning in 28.92. A great 1-2 for Mark Gilbert and for Keith Powell. Well done to both of them. We look forward to both of those greyhounds going forward because they will improve for what they've shown thus far. There's no question. There's a couple of big runs bubbling under the surface there. Have no doubt about it. Sid Zafiro, thankfully, they all got up but well and raced on. I believe Sid Zafiro will have a bright future, have no doubt. A son of Susie Sapphire. Certainly one to keep on the radar. Just want to finish off, folks, before we go, mentioning one or two of the big runs at Towcester at the weekend. Obviously, Paul Hennessy won the Maiden Derby. He was long odds on favourite to win the Maiden Derby at Towcester on Sunday afternoon, but it wasn't JT Craze. He missed a kick and caused traffic on the opening corner, ending the claims of his kennel companion as well. Barefoot Awesome. Garfinney Blake was out of luck as well for Graham Holland. But on the outside, JT Etienne, it's easy to know this fellow was named by Kevin Hennessy because Etienne is named after a fellow called Travis Etienne Jr., who is a running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It just so happens that here's a little known fact that Kevin Hennessy is a Jacksonville Jaguars super fan. Absolutely, bananas, recording stuff at the end of the derbies last year, and he was going, gotta get home. I said, why? The Jacksonville Jaguars are playing in a preseason game, and like Trevor Lawrence is playing, and I'm going, Kevin, you gotta sort your priorities out, son. But anyway, JT Etienne, fittingly giving his name, he showed a great early dash, skipped around the outside and went on to win in fine style, returned at 9-1. The 16-1 about him during the week was an insult. He had actually run very well in the previous two rounds of the competition. So our first Derby success of the year at Towcester for the Irish. Hopefully it won't be the last. High Trend ran on the undercard, went up fast, eased on the opening corner, just looked completely lost, then stayed on well, narrowly beaten for third. He was finishing a close fourth, stayed on very well in defeat. I would take more encouragement from it than then concern. I think he'll improve considerably for the look of the track. Just seems so lost in the opening corner. Have no doubt if he gets trapped 1 or 2 in a few rounds at the English Derby, he will go far. He'll go deep. Keep him on your radar. And Gaytime Nemo, I actually missed it this morning. He was on the last race of the card, and I'll have to touch upon that now tomorrow again on Talking Dogs. But he was a very close second, just beating a short head. So great to see Gaytime Nemo, the defending champion, coming back to something like his best. Also, some notable trials. The other Kobe had his first spin, Tommy, for Graham Holland at trial at Toaster. Took off into the opening corner, did a sub 4 second sectional. That's lightning quick. Obviously blew up a little bit, 29:36, I believe he did. Very encouraging first look. Clonbrine Treaty to 29:25. That's also more encouraging given the fact that he was in traps. They didn't open. And then they went back out a half an hour later and trialed them again. So 29:25, good trial for him. And Bocco's Crystal flew in a sprint trial. Of course, our Derby runner-up. She ran very well in the Derby trial stake at Toaster last year, but then came in season, so they didn't take in the Derby. Well, if she stays out of season, she did a 15:67 trial, which was that's really quick. But in terms of the honours going for the Irish in the trial session, they go to Boyle Sports' Bob, who we know is extremely fast. And in a solo trial, you'd expect him to go very fast. But looks the type of dog that'll be suited to Toaster, an Easter Cup finalist. He did 28:99. When you think of all the times I've mentioned, that really reads very, very well. Tommy, things starting to heat up in Toaster. I expect a strong Irish challenge. I'm not sure how many we'll have. I'm not sure we're going to have these huge numbers that everyone expects, but I still think it'll be a fairly big challenge, maybe close on 40.
Really? Wow.
You're not getting watery on it now, getting worried, thinking we're going to get beaten or anything, no?
Listen, there's some fast greyhounds in the UK, but when it comes down to it, our dogs are better suited by 5-run competitions, 6-run competitions, and the tests. Like our dogs are tested every time they're on the track. The best in the UK are only tested 2 in every 10 runs. So I think our dogs are more battle hardened, and I think we're going to have some very special greyhounds going over. So I'm fairly confident.
The other Kobe story is interesting too, isn't it? I mean, what age is he now?
I think he's 4. Is he in April?
He's 4. Yeah, I think he's 4 now.
He's a lightly raced 4. That's the only thing I'll say about it.
He's obviously a dog that's in superb fettle.
Yeah.
Otherwise he wouldn't even entertain the idea of doing this.
I got the impression from my conversation with Graham Holland with the day the story broke that he was more than happy with him. More than happy with him. He didn't tell me to back him, but he may as well have. It's only a few months ago. His last run, 29:11 at Shelbourne Park, winning the Derby. He's done a little wrong since. In fairness, that's the first time we've seen him on the track since. But I think he's been on the track, and all reading between the lines, I wouldn't say he's gone too slowly at home.
Yeah, look, it'd be interesting to see how he gets on for Graham. He was terrific for Jennifer, who did a brilliant job with him. There was talk, all right, that he'd been tried him pretty well, wasn't there? Look, it's an interesting story. It's an interesting angle, not one I expected. When you texted me there last week about it, I was surprised to hear it. But sure, look, best of luck to him.
It's one from our point of view. It's something to write about, something to talk about. It's as you say, it's an added dimension to the Derby, Sarah, and that's the stories. Like for you, let's say, tonight Ireland getting underway and our Derby champions there. Like it just makes that it makes it an easier line, basically.
It does, and it makes it more exciting to cover, and it makes you more excited to look at it and see how he goes. The fact that he's won an Irish Derby, now he's competing in the English Derby, different track altogether. Can he do it? Of course he can. And as the way you're talking there, that Graham is giving you the encouragement that he's going very, very well. So who knows? I mean, what a story that would make. When he won the Derby last year and everyone was talking about it, the fact that Jennifer had done it 2 years in a row, and it would just, I couldn't even imagine it. Actually, the celebrations I actually said, I was speaking to Murren Murphy, obviously for the Clonbrine Treaty gang, and I said, I am definitely going to Toaster this year. I have never been to the English Greyhound Derby, and it's actually embarrassing that I've never been to it. So I don't even care. If I was thinking, if the Irish get to the final, and people are looking at me going, if the Irish get to the final, come on now, Sarah, be a bit more optimistic. So I will go to it this year, and I can't wait for it. Before we go, actually, I do want to mention, because Willie Rigney just wanted to remind people of the confined derby, of course, that's starting in Limerick. It is like nearly a month away, but it's to give people, get your dogs ready. He's hoping for like 96 entries or something. So
get your dogs ready, Tommy. You know what that means.
You're listening, Tommy.
Now,
20 grand to the winner.
Am I right in saying that some of the conditions of this, if you break a certain time in the opening round, you don't run the second round? Isn't that the way it works?
I believe so, yeah. So there'll be no one giving out like the spring derby and the back graders and this, that, and the other. So it's going
to be slow the first night.
I was going to say, Tommy, it'd be very interesting to see how fast the final is won compared to the first round.
Yeah. But sure, look,
how fast the track is running in general.
To the winner, lads,
yeah, it's massive money. It's colossal money, and as you say, it gives everyone a chance.
Yeah.
Ian, would you back the other call between the English Derby?
I wouldn't.
I had a tenner each way at 100 to 1. I couldn't resist.
Is he 100 to 1?
He was 100 to 1, Sarah. He was 100 to 1. Anyway.
I would at those prices, but not like, what's he now?
Well, the way I see it, he's to beat about 4 dogs in the UK and about 20 dogs from Ireland. No, that's not bad odds.
Yeah, when you put it like that, yeah. But like, if you had said that to me and he's only about 16 to 1 on post, I'm like, no, I'd look for value somewhere else.
That's the nature of the game. That's the nature of the game. Listen to Tommy. He'll tell you a bit about value. Isn't that right, Tommy? With Tommy shaking his head, that's a great way to finish up proceedings. If we haven't got Tommy shaking his head, we aren't doing things right. Anyway, my thanks once again to Sarah Kinsella and to the exiled one, Tommy Lyons, for their generous time this morning as you were watching it this evening on Talking Dogs. Best of luck to the finalists in the Shelbourne Open 600. For those getting dogs ready for the English Derby, the very best of luck. Hopefully preparations go well. For those preparing their dogs for the graded Derby, I hope those preparations go well. But that's it from us. For us on this Monday evening, it's a case of good luck, good evening, good night.